Alright, let's talk about Sage healing. So first we're going to go to combat proficiencies. Let's take a look at level 15 here. This preserved force armor, your most important ability. This is going to be, if you put it on somebody, it shields them, it will be damaged before anything else. For this particular level and gear, it's going to be 27k damage is prevented, and that is just what makes the Sage amazing. So let's jump up to number 23. Um, this is one of the things I'm going to say, do as I say, not as I do. I use Hastening Call. You waste a global cooldown to cast a second one, but I recommend you keep the peace. You're not overhealing or looking for someone to heal. Also on level 23, I want to focus on this right here. Read this. If you could go ahead and read this, you'll understand what Rejuvenate does. So Rejuvenate is your bread and butter. You will always be using Rejuvenate at all times. If it is on cooldown, you must be hitting that button. For for no matter what, you were hitting that button. Um, Moving on to level 27. So as a healer, especially when you're getting really good, you will be pulling aggro, um, and you're going to want to have that cloud mind. Most importantly, it will lower your threat. That's what because you'll rip aggro from the tank even sometimes, um, especially right at the beginning if you're healing people, if they take some damage. Let's jump on to this one. Pick what you like here. This one here, if you're in an operation, this is a nice one because, as I said, this should be on cooldown hit. You should be hitting as many people as possible with that, um, using on cooldown and using it pretty often. And when you read this, you'll see why. You're reading that conveyance. So I use Rejuvenate, goes around to 4 people, and then also um, there is no death, so it helps a little bit to make that come off easy. If you're in other content, you want to take something else. This little bit of speed, that's always nice. Wanderman, we're going to talk about that, but go ahead and read it. Do read it. I'll explain a little later, but do read what this is doing. Um, this on level 64, speed is always better. Might as well use it. And if you're in PvP, definitely take this bad boy here as a healer. This does reduce your damage from Force Mend, which is great. That's really good, and you get a nice cooldown on it. But this will blind them for 3 seconds. Stun is always nice, and it's like an extra free stun. So take it. It'll keep them away from you just a little bit longer while you get another heal off, or take that one, but I take this one. Alright, we're going to come back to Telekinetic Blitz later, but take anything you like. Phase Walk is nice for mobility. You can lift things where no one else can, and you can attack whenever necessary. We're going to come back to Telekinetic Blitz though, and then there's no real good option here. Just take whatever you like. I'm taking the reduced damage. Alright, and then your bubble. Your bubble. So the only other thing that you should always be doing besides Rejuvenate is always have a bubble on like your main couple of targets you're healing, 2 or 3 targets, not everybody necessarily, but at least 2 or 3 targets you want that bubble on, at least 2 or 3 targets you'll be hitting Rejuvenate and before any move. What happens is not only does it shield, but at level 78 it also, when it pops, it will also heal, so it shields and heals, and you don't have to think about it, it's there already, you precast it. Okay, let's move on to the interface editor. So it depends on what you're doing, but if you go to the operations frame and go down here, check this, say show only removal debuffs. Now, it depends on how and why and what's going on about debuffs, but while you're learning, you might want to pay attention to those cleansable debuffs and then later on wipe them off, because then you'll know them, you can get rid of that and turn back on. You want to see other buffs and debuffs going on, like when to heal and when not to heal. Like there are some fights where you do not want to heal. You'll kill people by healing them. But there's your cleanse. You want to make sure and have your cleanse available and ready if somebody needs it. That is definitely helpful at first when you're first starting out. So let's talk about your abilities here. So after you read at level 23, you'll see that Rejuvenate affects every single other ability that's a healing ability. So um, let's start with Rejuvenate and Wandering Men. What it does is it makes Wandering Men bounce around. So you see it bouncing around. that does a lot of damage. So first of all, your rejuvenate on a single target is going to heal for around 20,000 health. Your biggest heal by far and wide, there's not even a close heal to this, is 65,000 or bout by Wandering Mend, and you instantly activate it using these two together. So it makes it bounce right away. So you're gonna heal, and it's a smart heal. It will heal the weakest person first. So that's what you're looking for. You're wanting to heal the weakest person, and you don't have to do anything, and it costs one global cooldown, and you're healing four people or five people depending on your tactical. And what's great about this tactical here is one for all. Wandering Men will heal up to 5 targets instead of 4. This is your best tactical. This is what you need to be using. No other tactical. This is your tactical. Unless you really feel like using this one, and we'll come back to that after a bit. So that's Metaphysical Mender if you really, really want to. But if you're just starting out, you'll want to use the Wandering Mend. It will turn it'll get about 65,000 health healed to the weakest member, and always travels to the weakest member. So Healing Trance is nice, and I have it sitting next here next to Vindicate. If Healing Trance criticals, it'll make Vindicate glow. So to make it critical, hit Rejuvenate first on cooling, then hit Healing Trance. Then this one will critical, giving you 3 what's called Resplendence, which means this guy is going to glow. You have to regenerate force using Vindicate. You have no choice. That's how you have to do it. If it's glowing, you don't get any debuff. But if it's not glowing, you'll get this thing called Weary. You'll see I have 2 stacks now, 3 stacks, and now 4 stacks of Weary right here. That means my force regeneration is is a little bit less, and it wears off over time. So Vindicate is a tricky one. It is the hardest healing class to manage your energy pool, I would say, of all the healing classes, because this is the only way you get health, you get force back. Your weapon does not regenerate force power. Does not. No matter what you do, your little saber strike does not. It is free, but it does not generate any force power. This is the only way to get it back that end time, or exiting combat end time. So it's, mental alacrity is really not that great. It seems like it's good, but it's not. Force speed cools down that mental alacrity. It makes you a little bit faster, which is good. I think one of the like your DPS one, Unmatched Haste, use your Unmatched Haste. That works well with that. The other tactical, Revitalize. While Rejuvenate is on a target, it has a 15% to spontaneously heal the target whenever the target feeds a non-Rejuvenate healing. So this Revitalize package works with Rejuvenate and any other move. So any move before you do it, again, let me repeat, Rejuvenate, then a move. Rejuvenate, then a move. So Rejuvenate, then Wandering Men. Rejuvenate, then Healing Trance. So it's moving on. This bad boy makes you critical twice. So you get 2 stacks of something critical. So this is why I say, hey, do as I say and not as I do. I waste a global cooldown to use 2 deliverances in a row, and I make this Benevolence glow. Um, that's that's the one I use. I actually recommend, again, that you use the Keeper of the Peace. You'll heal 2 targets. You won't be looking for someone to heal. I'm usually using Deliverance to heal the tank twice, like just bam bam twice on the tank real quick, and then following up with a Benevolence without hitting Rejuvenate first. So it would be, if it's on cooldown, Rejuvenate, Deliverance, or Rejuvenate and your Benevolence. The reason why you want to use it for your before your Deliverance is because it'll make it cast faster. The second one's instant, so you don't need it. So it's instant, um, and then this would be instant too. So that's literally a long cast, but then reduced. That's been reduced by Rejuvenate. Then a quick instant, and then another instant. So 2 instant casts in a row for quite a bit of healing. Benevolence is your absolute worst heal that you have. It is very expensive, and it does an okay amount of healing, I guess. It does less than Rejuvenate even, but it's terrible. But once you use Deliverance, you'll see that the Benevolence is glowing. It is free and instant. That makes it excellent. It will also generally critical. It's a 60% chance critical if you use Rejuvenate before it. But if you can't remember it, don't worry about it. Don't even bother. Don't even, like, if it's glowing, hit it. If not, don't worry about it. That is your absolute worst heal. Don't use it. All right, Bubble. We got bubble, two spots on my bar because you got to bubble people. If you see somebody without a bubble, go ahead and put it on. All right, salvation. Now this is a tricky one. Salvation should generally not be used. It can be used in very specific locations. But what you're going to do is you're going to heal 8 people as long as they're um, inside your aura for 17k. Now remember when I said this one here does about 65k? So if this is on cooldown, Wandering Mend is on cooldown, you will heal 5 people for around 13k. And this one you'll heal 8 people for 17k. So on the surface that seems great, but it's not, because it's very rare that 8 people are going to be inside that bubble at any given time. If it is a scripted uh, event where everybody is taking an equal amount of damage, great. That is the time to use it. You'll use, of course, Rejuvenate, then Salvation. But generally, most of the time, you will not be using Salvation. You'll just sit there on that bar and you'll never use it. Um, the very specific fights. Maybe if you're doing SOA and you're going and you're all taking even damage as you're going down um, those platforms and everybody's taking equal damage. Sure, you're going to heal 8 people. That's nice. That's going to be better in that situation than Wandering Mend. And then another situation, maybe at the very beginning of Eternity Vault, where that he has 24 something something missiles, and everybody has to group up for those heals. You're not going to do big heals. It's not big heals. It's just everybody's taking damage evenly. Use your salvation in that instance. It'll be Rejuvenate, salvation, and you might even get an extra proc from that salvation. Other than that, you will not be using that unless everybody's grouped up and taking even damage. If everyone's grouped up and not taking even damage, boom, Wandering Mend. So if anything else is on cooldown, anything at all, you'll be using that before salvation. You'll find them in your list, and you will use Rejuvenate. You will use one of the other moves. And so now we've moved on. Let's move on to Telekinetic Blitz. All right, this is a tricky one because you already are hurting for force because you need to use Healing Trance, finish out that cast, get those 3 criticals by using Rejuvenate, and then Healing Trance. Get Vindicate to pop. Telekinetic Blitz is kind of expensive. The more you use it, the less it costs. You can also get it to hit 5 times. So you can do it 1, 2, 3, hit 4 speed, 1, 2, so that you've hit 5 times. So what you could do if you wanted is, let me get out of combat here, you can switch out and use Metaphysical Mender. The problem with Metaphysical Mender is you will still miss sometimes. So you're healing, and you're healing for a pretty decent amount. It will heal up to 4 times really well. So you'll notice the healing's increased, now 34k. Now something else happened. Couldn't read the number, 82k. So the 4th attack is the most effective. You do 1, 2, 3, 4 speed, 4. The 4th attack is a massive heal. 80k, 1 heal. Massive, but it's expensive to use, and it takes a while to get there, and it requires a 4 speed. It's great, it works, mega healing on somebody, even healing yourself if you had to, but it's in the long run, it's expensive, and Wandering Mend is generally better. But if you really want to help out the DPS a little bit and you want to do some targeted healing, because Wandering Mend is a targeted healer and Telekinetic Blitz is a targeted heal. It will always go to the weakest person in the range, within the range. That's who's going to get the healing. So depends on the fight that I'm in. I'll use Telekinetic Blitz, and sometimes I'll even out heal the healers because this is a smart healer. It will go to the weakest member, and so it will actually steal what they would have normally healed by healing for 80k or something like that. They would have healed that, but I stole it from them. It's unfortunate. They don't know. I'm just helping out where I can, and it can be very, very effective. So, and you would not need to use a Rejuvenate before that. So that was a 78k. On the 4th one, that was 78k. So technically, Telekinetic Blitz is your largest heal, your largest single heal that you can do. So let's talk about DPS. So I already talked about Telekinetic Blitz. Unfortunately, if you're using Telekinetic Blitz, you cannot be using your Wandering Mend. That is your very best. Uh, your very best. So depending on the situation, which one to use. If your DPS is great, you're just gonna be getting in their way anyway. So just manage your force. Work on managing your force. Let's talk about DPS because you're already having problems managing your DPS, your force by using Healing Trance. Adding any DPS at all is going to cause you to burn more force. But if you must attack for some reason, you can pull out your weapon, which is free. Weaken Mind is great. It's just 23k damage over time. You just sit it and walk away. If you wanted to, you could throw a project. That's instant. Get right back to your healing. Um, it's not too expensive, and you just get right back to it. So Force Wave, don't ever use Force Wave unless you're knocking somebody off the edge. If you're in an operation, if you're in a Master Mode Flashpoint, um, if you're in a heroic, there's almost really no reason unless you're pushing something off the edge. It's the only time you're going to use it. Anything else? Any other reason to be um, involved in DPS? Um, they shouldn't be asking you to interrupt. Your accuracy is too low. So you're healing. That's your job. You're a healer, and that's your job. So if it's a numbers game you're looking for, this is not the spec for you because you will never pull more numbers than other classes because you have a bubble. This bubble prevents damage. It counts as protecting people, but it does not count as healing. It does not count as healing at all. So you will take that as a sacrifice. And one last final thought for this particular class is Force Mint. If you have less than 100% health, pop that Force Mint. It is free and it is instant. Use it. Don't save it for a rainy day, and don't save your med pack for a rainy day. Force Mint, use it. Target yourself. You don't even have to target yourself, but for a barrier, you can target yourself. I know this is kind of a long one, but healing is the very best, very most needed, and I'd like to say that sages are one of the best classes to heal. Fun to learn, hard to manage the force, and that's all I got for you.